Hello, everybody, and welcome on into Sidelines, presented by Visit Potter Tioga. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's episode, it's a preview show as we preview the men's and women's basketball seasons, as well as the PSAC Cross Country Championship set for this weekend. Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk men's basketball. As joining me here at the desk is head coach John Szentesy. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
No problem, Drew.
So let's look at this group. A lot of new faces on this group and returners who you feel that have taken the next step. What have you seen early from this team thus far?
Our returning core group of guys played quite a few minutes last year. So experience is something you really can't teach. You have to gain and go through, and you know, through ups and downs. I think their experiences last year were going to carry a lot of weight going into this year. And our young guys, our freshmen, have come in really well, really working hard early and gelling well with our returning guys. And I think our returning guys have done a nice job of leading and showing the freshmen kind of the way things are going to be moving forward here. So it's been a really good preseason thus far, and I really enjoy this group. A really good group of people first, good students, good character, hardworking players, and I'm excited for the season.
I want to highlight a couple of returners. The first one, of course, Idris Ali, a player who unfortunately finished their year with an injury last year, but had their best game during that injury. What have you seen kind of from his growth and rehabilitation on him?
When Idris went down with an injury and it ended his season, we were actually playing our best basketball of the season last year. And I kind of think, you know, had that not happened, we really could have been in a different spot by the end of the season. But he rehabbed his injury very well, worked hard all summer. He's in the weight room, he's in the gym every day, and I have high expectations of him, not necessarily only statistically, but more so as a leader with the group. And he's done a really good job this fall of leading the younger guys. But I think the way he plays the game, he's a smart player. He plays very hard. He's competitive. He's tough. Very good student. He's the prototypical college basketball player that you want here. And so I've been really happy with Idris thus far this year.
And another player who's kind of in that underclassmen, upperclassmen kind of divide in terms of experience on the court is Scott Woodring. What have kind of been the steps he has taken, that next step you expect from him and that he's taken?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's a sophomore, and we're calling them older or almost upperclassmen, but it's kind of the way our team is. And Scotty's been tremendous. He unfortunately had some knee surgery the end of August. That he's had a kind of a bum knee since he was in high school and had it operated on a couple of times. But he's been rehabbing it. He's in the training room every day. He's icing. He's doing everything he needs to do to get healthy to play. We expect a really big year from him, not just statistically, but once again leading a group as a captain along with Idris. So Scotty's been fantastic. He's really developed his face-up game. You know, he can shoot the three, he can shoot the mid-range very well to hopefully draw their big men out on the perimeter a little bit for us. But his footwork is tremendous in the post, so if he catches the balls back to the basket, he's going to be able to still make a move and score. Need him to rebound a lot. We're going to need a lot of guys to rebound, but Scotty's been outstanding and just excited to compete.
And some of the other returners, like a Manir Waller, a Jordan Montgomery, a Gabe Lewis, what is the next step you want them to take or they have to take with this group? Really, they got productive minutes last year, but what is the next step you expect from those kind of players?
Just a bigger role, I think, offensively and defensively. Manir and Gabe, you know, I'm projecting them as starters going into the season, and neither one of them were, you know, starters on a regular basis last year. So Gabe has really worked hard in the weight room since the end of last season. He's gotten much stronger, which I think he's gained more confidence as a result of the strength he's gained physically. Manir has worked on his game every day. If I can get him to knock down threes, he can knock down threes, but if we can get him to shoot it more consistently, it's just going to open things up for him and the rest of the team. Jordan Montgomery is that's a kid, you just know what you're getting from him on a regular basis. He plays so hard. He competes. He doesn't complain about anything. He's an extremely smart basketball player. And so he impacted plays against Lemoyne last week as a 5'9" guard that most guys wouldn't be able to do, but it's because he was in the right place at the right time and he knows how to play the game.
And then a large group of newcomers. Kind of two questions here. The first one, what kind of things do you expect from this new group? Being really thrown to the fire quickly just based on this roster, are going to have to put up important minutes. What do you expect from this freshman class and these newcomers?
It puts them in a tough spot sometimes because I expect immediate production. I mean, we're going to have to get productivity out of our freshmen, which can be difficult in the PSAC as there's a lot of upperclassmen, graduate students, guys that have been in the weight room for 4 or 5 years longer. Makes a big difference. But guys like Mike Dixon is extremely athletic, went to prep school last year, has some strength, speed, and can really make an impact on both ends of the floor. Ty Barrett can shoot lights out if he's open, and he doesn't even have to be open to shoot the ball sometimes. Ty can knock down tough shots. But Ben Reichert coming in as a big man has really developed in the last 6-8 weeks since he started here, and he's just going to keep getting better every day, and the sky's the limit for Ben, in my opinion. So Siraj Ali came in from Williamsport as a freshman. He's going to have to play big minutes for us. Has a lot of experience playing at a high level in high school. Now he's translating that to the college game, and so far he's been fantastic in the weight room, on the floor. He keeps getting better. He's a smart player, very unselfish. So I really think Siraj is going to have a big year and career.
Speaking of Siraj and of course Idris here, having the two brother connection on the team, in terms of on-court chemistry, I'm sure they have it, but how important is it really to have your captain have his younger brother in that freshman class that you're trying to incorporate? Is that something you kind of lean into, or is a benefit to you guys?
Absolutely. A year ago, I really didn't think we were going to be able to get Siraj to enroll here. So it's been a blessing in disguise at that point in time. I didn't know what the future, holds. You never know. So having the two of them here, they look out for each other on and off the court. It's really neat to see. And we also have Jordan and Jaden Montgomery, another brother connection, which is very similar. I see them on the floor in practice looking for each other, and they don't, they just want to win. They just want to compete and win. And I think having Idris here is helping Siraj. As well as it gives him somebody that he knows very well to look up to and has competed, with and against his whole entire life. So there's some familiarity there. But it's been a really fun having the two sets of brothers on our roster.
And hey, that's Mansfield though, right? Like the familial atmosphere, and to have actual the true family connection on the team, that's truly Mansfield. So speaking of the Mansfield family, former player of yours returns as your assistant coach here, adding Mike Rohl to the coaching roster. What does he add to your group?
Mike's been tremendous since he came in and hit the ground running. Had a couple bumps when he arrived, contracting COVID somehow, and got over that. He's fine, but he's a really very good player development guy, if you want to call it that. He's in the gym with our guys, doing individual workouts, getting them better with skill essentially. But at the same time, he's been fantastic for me because he gives me somebody in the office to just talk X's and O's and talk strategy with. And he's extremely smart. He knows the game. He's passionate. He has no more eligibility left, or I think he'd want to try to put on a uniform. But Mike he brings in a little bit more, not to call myself old, but youth, I guess, if you want to say that too. So he's related very well to the players thus far, and he's had some he's known a little bit about a bunch of them even previous to him being hired. And his familiarity with Mansfield, the community, the university, the campus, and everything really helps make it an easy transition, and I couldn't be happier with him.
So early season, what are some of the things that you guys want to focus on? A couple of scrimmages, or also the exhibition with Bowling Green that'll have happened by the time this airs, but hasn't happened yet in terms of filming. But early season 2, the non-conference type things, what are your, not expectations, but what are kind of the things you want to focus on early in the season?
Playing together offensively, and I think we've been doing a really good job of that. At times when your team gets down 10 points, 12 points, or gets up 10 points or 12 points, you tend to at times stray away from what's gotten you there. And we really need to stick with our offense. And our guys are very unselfish on the floor. They play well together. They don't care who scores or who shoots. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to defense and rebounding for us. This team needs to improve from last year defensively. We've really worked hard on it this preseason thus far. Still a long way to go in terms of learning positions and help side and not helping off certain areas. And we're getting much better at that on a regular basis here. So every day we want to continue to improve that. But rebounding is going to be a huge key for us this year to win games. And so they know that. They know we've got to defend and rebound to win. Offensively, I think we're going to be able to score enough points to compete. But at the end of the day, to be a playoff team and make a run, you've got to get stops and get rebounds.
So the preseason rankings in the conference come out. Sitting there in 9th in the preseason, do you use that at all as like motivation, or do you just not focus on it because it's preseason, they haven't seen us? How kind of do you approach being in that spot?
I don't put any emphasis on it, but our players do. They came in and when they saw that, I think they felt disrespected because they know we beat some of the teams that were ranked ahead of us last year, and we're playing very well at the end. But a lot of times preseason rankings fall similarly to how you ended the season before. Not quite as much this year, but we were in that same spot tied with Bloomsburg last year. So I think the guys are going to use it as motivation. I don't put hardly any emphasis or anything on preseason rankings because it doesn't mean anything other than what somebody else's opinion of you is. So I try not to get too caught up in what other people's opinion is, and just keep moving forward with our team and let them use it for their own motivation.
So your expectations, let's go right into that. What is your expectations for this team this season?
First, we have to get better every day. I think we're ahead of where we were a year ago at this point in time in terms of our offense and playing together. So I'm happy about where we are at the moment. We're still 0-0. So each day we've got to continually get a little bit better, play our best basketball in January and February. Expectations every year are still the same for me. Is we've got to make the PSAC playoffs. To me, it doesn't matter if you're the number 1 seed or you're the 6th seed. You're in. You've got a chance. But if you're not, obviously our goal is to get in. You got to be in to win. So we're hoping to get to that point. I think if we continue to improve and stay together as a group like we have thus far, I'm confident we'll get to that point.
Well, Coach, should be a fun season ahead, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it.
And Sidelines carries on after this. Do not go anywhere.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk women's basketball now, as we have head coach Amy Senefelder joining me here at the desk. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
So this season upcoming, a good group of returners with a lot of experience and a group of newcomers. Early in the season, what have you noticed from this group? What has kind of stood out from this group in the early season practices?
They seem to be bonding pretty well together, on and off the court, which is nice. So they seem to have a good flow to them. They understand, the need to get better every day. So that seems to be going pretty well.
Some of the returners coming back, you have an all-conference player coming back. And someone who you expect to be kind of a vocal leader and a leader of this team. What have you seen from Jasmine Hilton, really, for her to take that next step in her development?
Yeah, Jazz is great. She's a leader on and off the court. She does all the right things that we need. She's positive. She's a good role model. She takes care of her body. She does all those little things that the younger kids can look up to. But she'll have to perform on the court. Teams are going to key in on her probably more this year. So it's up to her to kind of, perform and outshine.
Yeah, definitely that target on your back. Once you get on that list, you get a target on your back. Another player who made a statement really at the end of the season was Olivia Paglow in her last game of the year. And you're going to need that this year from her. What is the next step you've kind of seen from her early in the season?
She's been named a team captain as well. So she's kind of taken on a leadership role this year, her senior year. I think she's kind of realized, it's now or never, and she knows she has the capabilities. It's just a matter of, putting it together night in and night out.
And another couple of players who you have a lot of players who've had experience on this team, and you expect big things from like an Emily Leidig, a Jasmine Perez, those kind of players. What do you expect from your returners who have experience to kind of fill in the roles that they need to?
Yeah, they have specific roles, and they're going to need to, for us to be successful, they're going to have to fulfill those roles. JP's going to have to play solid defense. She's going to have to learn to score a little bit more. Emily's going to have to shoot the ball more. So they all know their roles. It's just a matter of putting it together in game time situations.
Is that, have you found that they've kind of figured out what their roles and are going to try to fall into that? Or what's kind of the gauge of that, of making sure someone knows their role?
Oh, I tell them their role. I try to be clear with them, and most of them naturally, know what their roles are as far as positions they play and expectations. But, we meet and I let them know their roles and expectations as well.
And so there's also a nice group of newcomers that you have coming in. And what is kind of the things that you expect from this new group who are going to have to play important minutes at times?
Yeah, they're going to have to play soon and play often. So they're going to, we had our first scrimmage the other night, so they got a little taste of kind of the speed of the game, but they're going to have to kind of jump into the fire quickly and, not a lot of room for error.
Is that how do you approach that adaptation to try? And is it just trial by the game, or is there something in practice that you can simulate to try and get that speed for the newcomers?
Well, the newcomers are going up against, Jazz and Liv and Chris Fulford in practice, so they're kind of getting that game speed. But once you step into actual scrimmage or actual game, the speed's so much different. So we try to, mimic it in practice the best we can to try and get them up to speed. But it's good for them to be practicing against Jazz and Liv every day,
And for you personally this year, obviously last year you come in September, October, like literally 3 weeks before, seemingly before your preseason started. Having the full off season, how much of a benefit has that been for you and really the development of those returners?
Yeah, I think we're a little farther along this year than we were last year, just because of the timing. But we've been able to put defenses or offenses in a little earlier this year, whereas last year it was just kind of thrown in right before the season started. But yeah, we've enjoyed that time together more this year.
And so how important has, because you've also been able to in this fall do a lot of team bonding things with your group, and how important is that to, or how does that lead to the on-court chemistry?
Yeah, they just seem to get along so much better. We've done a lot of things team bonding wise that kind of forces them to be together, step out of their comfort zone. So it definitely, you can see it on the court. They just get along better. They just seem to be having fun.
That's always a plus,
Yeah,
absolutely. So the PSAC preseason rankings come out. You guys kind of right there in the middle, right on the cusp of playoff. How much weight do you personally put in, or does the team kind of put into this preseason rankings? And do you approach it as a motivation? Do you approach it as an expectation? How do you approach those rankings?
Kind of both. Right now we're leaning toward using it as motivation because seventh place, a seventh place pick does not get you into playoffs. So we're kind of using that as a motivation. We want to make playoffs. Other teams don't think we're good enough to make playoffs, so we kind of have a chip on our shoulder and kind of using that as motivation as we go through.
And so, yeah, let's let that jump right into kind of your expectations from the group. You mentioned playoffs there. This team was close and just kind of had a couple of games fall away from them late in the season. What's going to be the key to make that promised land, to get to the playoffs this season?
Well, I think the kids that had been there last year kind of know what it takes and how close we were and the little things that we could have done differently to make playoffs. So they're going to have that in their head and, kind of enforce that on the younger kids, as far as expectations. And, if we want to make playoffs, this is how we got to perform.
So how does that lead to then early season focuses and early season things that really you want to kind of shape and mold? What are those things early in the season that you can focus on that'll lead to the success down the road?
Definitely our defense. It wasn't great the other night. Defense is kind of our staple. It's, what we do or what we did pretty well last year. So kind of building on that and making sure that's sound, because every game our defense should be there. Whether we can score or not is yet to be seen. But our defense should be there every night. So.
Teams can score certainly in this conference.
Yeah.
Being able to stop them definitely gives you a bonus. Well, Coach, should be a fun season coming up. Yeah, me as well. And thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by.
Thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk cross country as we are less than a week away from the PSAC championship. And joining me here at the desk is head coach Mike Rohl. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
You bet, Drew. Anytime.
So this season up to this point has been a fascinating one for your group. Of course, I want to start on the women's side, and I want to start with a player or with an athlete who has been able to really kind of come back from an injury and excel this year, and that's Carly Daniels. What have you seen from her growth, her performances this year?
Well, we're finally seeing what a healthy Carly Daniels looks like. We're finally seeing that potential that I saw when I went to watch her race as a senior in high school, prior to COVID and everything that went wrong. It's phenomenal, and it's something that we've seen here before. She's right in the legacy of some of the great athletes that we've developed over the years, right in there with the range of Brene Edwards, Jess Scordino, Lauren Norton, Savannah Boucher, average kids who just come in and work hard and get better and better each year. You're seeing somebody reach their potential.
So what is your expectation for her specifically coming up to this race?
We're looking at a possible top 5 finish at the conference meet. Of course, you get here, you're trying to compare prior to this courses, when athletes have run against each other. An all-conference performance, certainly, and possibly a top 5, and getting prepared for a regional, a run at the regionals.
And staying on the women's side, a close group too, of course, led by Carly, but having that middle pack that really likes to run as a pack, how much of a benefit in a championship race is that going to be?
Well, it certainly helps that if your 3, 4, and 5 are very close, there's not a lot of separation. They don't get a chance to dilate their points. And I'm hoping that this does kind of happen. You'll see that they have alternately been ahead of each other at different times. They've been basically interchangeable in the order, which means that if somebody's having a good day, somebody's having a bad day, somebody's going to step up. And what we're looking for is that they all have a good day and they all be very close at the same time. So yeah, they've done a remarkable job of running together and training together, and they really believe in themselves.
And speaking of that kind of running, going over to the men's side, it hasn't been a consistent number 1, but that can be. Do you approach that as a positive thing, that you are seeing different guys have those breakthrough races, or is there something that you'd like to see more consistency with?
It is a very different animal for the men than it is for the women. The women are getting ready for that 6-kilometer race. It's just a kilometer longer than the 5K, which almost all of them have done on the track. For the men, that 8K difference is just an in-between distance, but it's also keeping in mind that throughout the entire season while we're racing 8K, we're really preparing for a 10K at the end of the season of regionals. And so they just take a little bit longer to develop. Now, what I have seen, this is the 12th week of training, is that Christian has become a much better cross-country runner than he has in the past. He's progressed through the season. His last race was a really solid effort, and he's getting more and more comfortable on the grass. Not unlike Kerry Claypool, who's an excellent track runner, but hasn't had the great the equivalent performances on grass. It's a tricky thing, as you know, because you ran cross country. It can be tricky. David is very consistent and is a good cross country and track runner, so those are comparable. Seth Neal has just gotten stronger and stronger with each week. More consistency, more attentive to the detail, and he's really going to develop into a good runner. He's got a ways to go yet, but every sophomore does. In terms of Owen Chowers has also made great progress this year from his freshman year. He's very mentally tough and very determined young man. And then we have our freshman. I'm not skipping his name. I'm just talking too fast.
Derek has had a fantastic, going to that point though, when you have a freshman who's really been able to compete with the top group, how much of a benefit is that?
Oh, it's huge for Derek, who was coming in from a well-coached program and well-designed program, and then to watch him gradually step his mileage up over time to the point where I have what I call pinnacle workouts, where if you do them at an ideal pace, or if you do them in an ideal way, that you've probably reached their highest level of fitness. And he is able to run 17 miles at 6:20 pace, which is at least a year ahead of where I thought he was going to be at this point. And now, hopefully the timing is correct and we'll transition that into a big performance. But for the men, Christian will be coming back next year. He's a senior, but he'll be coming back next year, and we know that. The rest of the men are still only sophomores. So even though we have a senior leader, but he also has only run one cross-country season. And again, so that experience is that they're really young in terms of that. We set a team goal of getting 2 of them into the 25s for 8K and 3 of them into the 26s. We're really close to that. And, we'll find out how close we are. And, so that's kind of their experience. They're still developing along at those distances, where the women, we set a goal of them getting into the 23s. That can happen pretty quickly for sophomore women. So.
And how much of a benefit is it for this group that both of these meets coming up, are at the home course?
Well, this is the first time in the Mid-Atlantic history, in probably 30 years, where the conference and the regional are being held at the same site. We're one of 3 schools capable of doing that. And we're one of 3 schools with a course that can handle it. And I think it's huge because we know that course really well. And this particular group is very coachable. And so the idea of going down to practice in the same location, rather than looking at it as being boring or mundane or we did this every week, this group has really grasped onto the fact that this is our home facility, this is our home course, it was built for them, literally, and that they're going to take advantage of it. And they talk about it on a regular basis when we go down there for our Wednesday and our Saturday sessions, how much they appreciate having their home course and the care and the effort that we've put into making that into the expanded version that it is now.
And so a couple of athletes on your team have talked about how you've kind of switched up the ideal race plan for this year for some of them, and given them a little bit of a new look that maybe you haven't done in the past. What has led to that change in certain athletes running, and ultimately what have you seen from that switch?
Well, one of the things, good coaches, and I don't know if I'm a good coach or not, but one of the things that I try to do is continually evaluate what I'm doing. And I've had great success over the years on the track. I don't know how many All-Americans, but a bunch, national runner-ups, national champions. But I've only ever had 2 men qualify for nationals, three men qualify for nationals in my coaching career, going back even to West Georgia in the 90s. I've had a couple women's teams qualify, and I've had success with the women in cross country, but not so much the men. And it's not, and colleagues of mine have said, well, maybe you're not able to recruit the 9:15 2-milers out of high school. And I would reply, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is my colleagues across the conference are recruiting 10-minute 2-milers just like I am. They're getting those guys to run in the 26s, and I am not. I've got to improve. Not doing something correct with the men. And so then I met with some friends while I was out at the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon, spent a week with 3 really good cross-country coaches who've had more success with men than I have, talked about training, was able to basically dial it in a little bit more. And this idea of making sure that they're out a little bit faster than their race pace so that they're in contact and that they're racing people is really the concept that we've been trying to do. And unlike past times where I let them build their fitness and lowered their target times in practice as they progressed fitness-wise, we took a different approach, which was we're going to go to the first race and we're going to race the first mile like we would if we were at the regional championships. And if that means that the athlete is going to slow down and fall off their pace, then so be it. We'll continue to train, but each time we go out to race and each workout we do is basically you've got to be, in Christian's case, if you're going to run 25-30, you got to be out in 4:58 for the mile. And so pretty much every practice starts out with something around a 4:58 mile. And the same thing with Carly and the rest of the women. If they're going to run, if Carly's going to have a chance to make it to the national championships and she's going to advance through the regional, she needs to be in the top 5 right from the beginning. And she needs to be able to race. And what has happened is, and I feel good about this because it's predictably happened. Each week they'd go out that faster, they'd get a little bit better, a little bit stronger, they'd hold it a little bit longer. And now it's not just that they're going to go out faster than their average race pace, they're going to go out faster than their average race pace, and they're probably going to hold really close to that as their new average race pace. The workout that we did on Saturday was phenomenal for Carly. It was one of the better ones I've seen in 20 years, and actually the whole team across the board. So yeah, it's worked out really well. And you're 5 days out and just thinking, okay, is this going to come together the way I think it is? It sure as heck looks like it is. So
I mean, let's roll that right into, we talked about specifically Carly and your expectations, but for this group as a whole, what are your expectations for the PSAC championships?
It's difficult to tell with how those third, fourth, and fifth runners fall out in the meet. They are literally the most unpredictable. So, I mean, you could run that race 3 times and you could end up with a different order. I think the women could be 10th at the conference meet. The men probably 11th. But we're looking at 18 teams now in our conference meet, and for the men 16 teams. So I think we'll do a little bit better than we've done in last year. The problem is, even if I advance all of my men a minute from where they were last year, it still only moves them up 1 team place, because that's how tight and competitive we are at the front of the group. But if I have athletes that are improving 2 or 3 minutes off their time from last year, or even a minute on the top end, I'll take that as the kids are doing a great job with what they're doing.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know you are too. I know our stress level's high, but this week hopefully will go very well for the both of us.
I will tell you, I have 1 more mowing to do tomorrow. I calculated that so far since May, I've put in approximately 150 hours on the mower to widen the course to get it down there. And I really I should take a moment while we're here. I got to thank Ryan Wood and the grounds crew for their work in preparing the starting area, which it was amazing, and the work that they've done, and a couple of the people around the area, like Stu Lazowski, who's come down with the roller, made sure that's done. The Army Corps of Engineers for letting us do that and being able to coordinate it. This is a major project. It serves a lot of people. There's going to be, I just got the count on the entries for the conference meet, 180 women, 160 men. That's 300 plus student athletes who are going to get to see that and enjoy that and represent our university at the highest level. And I'm really proud to be able to do that, and all the support that we've gotten to do it.
Should be an absolutely fun weekend, absolutely.
I hope so. Thank you, Drew.
And Sidelines carries on after this. Do not go anywhere. That's going to do it for this show, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.